New year, new changes. We have a theme for the year. I guess it's actually me, Spirit in me, so it's a we. Spirit through me works in its meditation and decides the theme, the intention that is set for our collective consciousness at the center. And the theme for 2015 is wholeness. Let that sink in for a moment. Wholeness. Jill actually mentioned that. I believe that the music evoked that, and I believe it is the clarion call that is calling to and through each of us as our collective community to know, experience, and to share and give wholeness. However that may outpicture for each of us individually and as we go through the year, wholeness. So that's our theme for the year. The theme for the month, January, is in alignment with our Science of Mind magazine, which is back to basics. Back to basics, and as often the tradition in religious science centers, which we teach science of mind, we are religious scientists, we often go back to reviewing what is science of mind about. So today it is about the ABCs of SOM, the ABCs of science of mind. And I'm not going to make it too intellectual and too much of a classroom because I want you to take the classes that we're about to offer this month and next month. I want you to learn the foundation and the basics, but I want to revisit a few things in what we do and why we're different. But before I do that, one of my new favorite people on the planet that I just adore and follow and literally bless is our Pope, the world Pope. And so when Pope Francis met with many of the families and workers in Vatican City towards the end of the year, he had 10 things that he asked them to contemplate or enact throughout the new year. And they sound very similar to what most of us know as resolutions, and they really echo a lot of our tenets of belief too. So here are the 10 things that Pope Francis has suggested. Number 1, take care of your spiritual life, your relationship with God, because this is the backbone of everything we do and everything we are. You could probably stop there and be fine. Because if you really put God first in your life and took care of your own spiritual practice, self-care would unfold, and then from self-care would come community care and would be that state of wholeness. Number 2, take care of your family life, giving your children and loved ones not just money, but most of all your time, attention, and love, and maybe some food. Take care of your relationships with others, transforming your faith into life and your words into good works, especially on behalf of the needy. Be careful how you speak. Purify your tongue of offensive words, vulgarity, and worldly decadence. Heal wounds of the heart with oil of forgiveness. I mean, right there, that's a quote worth keeping. Heal wounds of the heart with the oil of forgiveness, forgiving those who have hurt us and medicating the wounds we have caused others. Look after your work, doing it with enthusiasm, humility, competence, passion, and with a spirit that knows how to thank the Lord. Be careful of envy, lust, hatred, and negative feelings that devour our interior peace and transform us into destroyed and destructive people. Watch out for anger that can lead to vengeance, for laziness that leads to existential euthanasia. I'm going to read it again. See why I like this guy? Watch out for anger that can lead to vengeance, for laziness that leads to existential euthanasia, for pointing the finger at others, which leads to pride, and for complaining continually, which leads to desperation. And finally, he says, take care of brothers and sisters who are weaker, the elderly, the sick, the hungry, the homeless, the strangers, because we will be judged by this. And knowing his faith and teaching, judgment has a different connotation than sometimes how we look at it, but we will be judged by this because we are judged by our actions, and it outpictures in the behavior and experience that we have, so that we experience Judgment Day all the time. We don't have to wait till there's a transition and Peter and Gabriel greet us in the high heavens. It's about we are judged by our actions and our deeds. So 10 things that Pope Francis recommends, it's all right there. You can get it on the website. I have it. I can email it to you if anyone wants to actually read it, because those two quotes and just the thought of existential euthanasia is enough to contemplate for a while. So the basics of Science of Mind, usually the ministers take the first 4 Sundays of the month and take the first 4 chapters and revisit it. I will name the 4 chapters. I'm not going to go through them in the old-fashioned traditional way because it's a new year. I want you to learn it. Does anyone know the first one? Thank you. Oh my God. The thing itself. Oh my God. All right, you're all instructed. You must be at class. I guess I'll have to start teaching class. Okay, the second chapter, dare we know it? The way it works. What it does. Oh my goodness. Well, my work is cut out for me for this year, isn't it? How to use it. So it is probably a good thing that we're going to revisit the ABCs of Science of Mind, because even as a new thought center where we teach and encourage all kinds of philosophies and ways to find one's spiritual wholeness and self and expression, our prime thrust is Science of Mind. And we do that through the teachings of Ernest Shurtleff Holmes, 1887 to 1960. He's our founder. He is the man who wrote that book, the one that you sometimes use as a doorstop because it's really heavy. And then as you grow in your spiritual practice, you move it from the doorstop and you maybe put it by your bedstand. And then as you grow further, perhaps you actually pick it up and start to read it and you use it in the classes, because there is rich, deep, wonderful material in there, from how we came to be to the wonderful meditations in the back and through a whole chapter about Jesus that most people seem to ignore. It's an extraordinary book. It is not the book that I would recommend if it is your first time to Science of Mind. So if you are new and there's something about this teaching or Ernest that calls to you, speak to me and I will point you to the bookstore or the library and show you some other works. So I thought, well, to be fun, what are the ABCs of Science of Mind? And then I thought, it's actually A is affirm, B is believe, C is create. Affirm, believe, and then create. Because that's really all that we do. We affirm the infinite truth of who we are. We affirm the greater idea of God to know of itself through us in the most expressive, expansive way we can. We have, as you know, you just did, we have affirmations every month. There are affirmations that abound within the teachings, in the books, on the websites, anywhere. Affirmations, basically, since we're doing this kind of a primer here, affirmations are short, pithy sentences that you get to repeat over and over that allow you to change the wiring of your brain so that you can sign up for Dr. Johnny's class tomorrow. Because you really do need to rewire the brain in order to change your thinking, in order to change your life. It's important to start with the intention to do that, and then you have to follow through with something like affirmations. Then we go back to the B of ABCs, which is something that we share with most traditions, most spiritual traditions and faith, which is belief. Now, we just came off of a month where believe is one of those words that you see glittering everywhere in the declarations of decorations. Believe. Whether you're believing in Santa Claus, or you're believing in, the Christmas miracle, or you're believing in the greater idea of God to know of itself as you, through you, without any obstacles or barriers. Belief. So as we affirm the truth that we want, sometimes we call it setting goals or intentions or resolutions. Those things that we want to change, those feelings or traits and behaviors that we want to outpicture that are healthier for our mind, body, and spirit, for our work and expression. We affirm those things. We start to affirm a different spiritual practice. Maybe beginning with simple contemplation, simple stillness and quiet time, moving into deeper practices of meditation. And then we add in that concept of belief that what we're saying are not vacant, empty words, that we're not just giving lip service and by rote things to, there is one mind, that mind is God, that mind is my mind, etc. I am perfect, healthy, whole, and complete. Well, sometimes we sound, when we do those things, sometimes we sound like, 5-year-olds when they're having to do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we just do it because we're told to do it. We're grown-ups now. If you're sitting in this room, chances are there is at least a certain percentage of you that chose to be here because you are called to this. So, I want to encourage you to look at these affirmations that we give you, or that you find for yourself, or even that you write for yourself, perhaps from a class or a meditation comes out. Cards, things that you put by your bedside, stick on your mirror, or your cubicle at work, wherever it is, that you allow these affirmations to be rich with the intention that they're meant to be. You add the human, vibrant, passionate faith and belief to them, so they are not empty words. It is not just by rote. That when you speak an affirmation and let that affirmation call to you, if some of the ones that I write or you read and you go, sounds a little lengthy, or it doesn't call to me. No, find the one that stirs your heart. Find the one that gets that passion, that when you say it, your body goes, yes. It sounds like you want your body to sound like that opening when you go to, do they still have THX movies? When you go to the theater, do you remember when THX films came out and they would start and it had that, and those of you who are Apple users know what it sounds like every time you turn on a Mac. Same thing. I want your body to vibrate with the affirmation that you choose, that you're drawn to. Because if it doesn't, it's probably not going to work. Probably not. It'll start slowly making a difference. But you are trying to rewire, you are trying to change your thinking, to change your life, then you better change the vibration that is underneath the words that you are speaking. Then you get to the C, the ABCs, which is create. Because once you start to do that, once you start to affirm that which you desire or you want to change, and you begin to believe that what you're saying and the treatment work, which I'll get to in a moment, and the prayers are starting to work, then you get to be co-creator with the creator, the creative law of life, the one mind, to create and outpicture those things that you want, those things that usually qualify under resolutions and goals and desires. And as you begin to do that effortlessly along the way, maybe not at first, along the way, then you are in perfect wholeness, by which the affirmation moves through you with such faith, trust, and belief that it creates itself and outpictures in your world the way you choose. So the ABCs also become affirmative beliefs equals consciousness. Because what we think about over and over and over again, and how we outpicture it, and what we experience in life is really what creates the sense of consciousness. So we want to not only change our thinking to change our life, we want to change our thinking to change and create, co-create consciousness. We are on this planet. Matthew Fox talks about it. Oh, you can find infinite number of teachers and wise elders and authors that talk about this is the time. Jean Houston, this is the place, this is the teaching. Because we're open at the top, we believe in all paths to God. So whether you listen to a Sunday talk here and then you go and you practice yoga, or you do a Buddhist meditation, or you go on a silent sadhana and retreat, it's all bringing you to that oneness and the wholeness of who you are as God. We just happen to want to do it here in a religious science construct in a New Thought center. I want to let you know, since this is, again, preliminary stuff, the textbook that Ernest wrote, which was originally published in 1926 and then edited later because they excised chapter 13 on psychism, interesting, chapter 13, psychic, was originally titled The Science of Mind and Spirit. It is to my, I still have a twinge of regret or sadness, and it wasn't up to me, but that they dropped that along the way. That because one of the reasons that people aren't drawn to our teaching, science of mind, you want somebody to come out with a white lab coat, glasses, and pen protectors. Today we're going to talk about the science of mind, and then the projection chart shows up and we talk about science. And yes, we do. Yes, we do. And I'm glad that we do, because it needs to be incorporated in what we do, not just to appeal to that side of the brain, but because it's extremely intrinsic to who we are, along with the philosophy and the faith, the science of mind, capital M, mind. Mind and brain are different. And you learn that not only in our teaching and in other classes, but even in spiritual traditions of meditation. But we get, unfortunately, next, people think science of mind, ooh, you're Scientology, ooh, you're Christian Science. Had we kept science of mind and spirit, we somewhere along the way lost that. We talk and we teach about love and law. And before Ernest died in 1960, he said that if he had to do it all over again, he would stress love over the law. That when he was teaching and he began this philosophy and people were encouraging him to turn it into a religion instead of just a philosophy, he focused on the law, thinking that love is the divine, unique, inherent nature of each and every one of us. I don't need to teach you about love. You are walking love. You live in love. You came from love. You are love. Now let me just teach you how to use the law. Let me teach you how to do the ABCs of affirming, believing, creating into consciousness. And the love is right there. But then he realized that the Western mind got so stuck in the, okay, how do I do it? How many times a day do I do it? What time in the morning? Where shall I do it? Do I have to do it in a certain position? Do I have to face a certain direction? Do I do it if I have? That we got so westernized about it that we got stuck into the science part, meaning the application of it, the how, that we missed it. And we missed a lot of it. So he wanted us to go back to the love. I want us to go back to the love. While we look at the law, because we want to use the law in order to enhance, to create, to change, to experience. That is our tool. Using the creative law of mind, our infinite wisdom, that's how we make the changes. And those changes need to be coming from love. The love that you want to change and heal your body. You want to change and heal a behavior. You want to heal and change the world. It's got to come from love. It's not going to come from the head. It's going to come from the heart to the head. Then the head goes back to the heart and goes, ooh, bing, 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 bing. We have a match. Now let's create it. Let's affirm it. Let's believe it, and then put it into consciousness. That's kind of the synthesization that Ernest was talking about. The other thing that is really preliminary and unique to who we are is that we have a different type of prayer. Now, most of the people in this room have been in this teaching for so long. When I say treatment or spiritual mind treatment, you know what I'm talking about. It's kind of shorthand. You don't even have to, we all grew up and Xerox. When we say Xerox, you and I both know we're talking about a photocopy. Kleenex, we know we're talking about that facial tissue. Yet there are other brands, other things, but it becomes the shorthand, doesn't it? It's our own pronoun. Well, treatment or spiritual mind treatment is our version, our Xerox of what prayer is. Yes, there are various forms of prayer, but we have, and this is what makes us completely unique from other faiths, something called spiritual mind treatment. And it is a 5-step affirmative prayer. Now, I was trying for the new year, I was trying to put together a PowerPoint, and I'm gonna put it out there to the world that someone's gonna teach me, because I did better on Keynote, Ed, than I did on PowerPoint, but I still have to figure out, because I wanted to show you. I wanted to have that, and we're going to have that this year, now that we have the projection. I want to show you the 5 steps. I want to show you what our symbol, which is the teaching symbols over there, and which is beautifully replicated here. Thank you, Catherine. I want to show you these things, and I'm working on it, but it isn't an easy transition yet. But we have 5 steps. I'm going to hold my breath in. What's the first step? Recognition. Close. Sounds like. Okay. All right. I'm going to make it easy for all of us. Recognition, unification, realization, or sometimes it's known as declaration. It depends on where you're taught. Thanksgiving, I had to count where I was. And release, which is the letting go. The reason it's been synthesized into 5 steps, at one point in our movement it was 3, at another point it was 7. See, that's what happens when you're autonomous and creative. Oh, no, I say there are 3 steps. Well, I think there are 5. Okay. We have whittled it down to 5. We do affirmative prayer, meaning it is not supplication. It is not the kind of prayer that most of us grew up with or that you see in the movies. You see the kids get on, Dear God, please hear my prayer. Bring me the new bicycle. Fix this. Do that. And it's a perfect time to remind you, because most of us think about our letters to Santa from last month. God is not Santa. And God includes a Santa quality. But we do not pray with a supplication of, you, higher power somewhere out there, probably looks like a guy with a beard and white thing. You, please give me or do this for me. No. We teach that we are one with that higher power, with or without the beard and the white robe. We are that wholeness, and with that, now it's about us out-picturing from our affirmation, our belief, and our creation, that which we already have. Because we've been given this incredible, extraordinary universe that is rich and full, and yet we have had lives and teachers and parents and friends and experiences that have layered us over to believe otherwise. So really, this teaching isn't about learning something. It's about unlearning everything and allowing the wisdom that you were born with to be revealed once again. And then, yes, we have tools. We have the meditation or contemplation. We have spiritual mind treatment. We have classes. We have books. We have affirmations. We have ministers and practitioners who will sit with you and know the truth about you. We have all these wonderful augmentations and tools by which to allow you to release all of the barriers, boundaries, filters, and stuff that you accrued in a lifetime to go back to what? The wholeness of your being. That's what we're about. And that's what this year is about. And that's my goal. And I know somewhere along the way we all get distracted. The center gets distracted with dramas and policies and politics and people and stuff. And so my charge is to be the one that goes, nudge, 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 poke, poke, poke. Hey, and as a community, we get to do that for one another. So that if we get into that sort of, Pigpen. Wasn't Pigpen the one in Charlie Brown where you walk around and the dust cloud was there? Well, don't we get like that? Somewhere, first couple months of the new year, we are bright and shiny and we are good. And then stuff, whether it's external stuff, news. The news will always do it for you, by the way. If you ever want an external reason, turn on the news. Any number of the channels that you can have 4 times in the same screen. You can have news to tell you that the world is awful, that it's never been this bad. I think they've been saying that. The difference is we now have the internet and television that can tell us that in microseconds, whereas it used to take people on horses months to drive through the communities to be able to say, the British are coming, or something is happening. There's always going to be stuff. There's always going to be someone who is violating the natural order of things. It doesn't have to be you. And so we get to remind each other as we go along through each Sunday and through each month, and as the months come, to kind of vacuum away the pig pen, get into that wholeness, and remember these principles, this teaching. And when we forget, we have all of this. All of this, what we teach. Ernest Holmes was asked once by a reporter, because nobody understood science of mind even back then. What's religious science? What is it? Well, how do you define it? And he was challenged actually, to create a definition in 25 words or less. The science of mind is a correlation of the opinions of philosophy, the revelations of religion, and the laws of science applied to the needs and aspirations of people today. Oh, you like that? See, now, that would have been on a PowerPoint slide by now. I'm setting an intention here. And if anyone's here is really talented at that, let me know. That definition that he wrote does apply to today. It does define why and what we follow as this faith and philosophy that we augment with different teachings, because we quote from Buddha here, we quote from Wayne Dyer, Deepak, Oprah, Stephen Sondheim. Please go see Into the Woods, by the way. Sorry for that commercial. We quote Lincoln, we quote mystics, visionaries. We find truth wherever it is and however it is spoken, and we teach it, we allow it, we present it, we invite, we encourage. And our foundation is science of mind. So I will read it again for those of you who may be new or starting the new year. The science of mind is a correlation of the opinions of philosophy, the revelations of religion, and the laws of science applied to the needs and aspirations of people today. That translates that everything that we talk about, we think, we feel, we know, distills down into and compromises one whole system. One name, call it God, call it life, call it what you will, but call it, use it, allow it, be it, and use these teachings, what we present here on a Sunday morning or a class or through a contemplation or on our website or any of the things that we offer in the books, in our bookstore for sale, the books in our library that you can borrow and use. Use these tools. That's part of the magic and the power of the new year, is that it's not just ripping off a page in a calendar, because, behold, I make all things new. So March 3rd, I could be saying the same things right now, because it's a new day. And yet, the collective consciousness of the world around us just vibrates at the fact, a new start. Whew. Thank you. Here I am. I say, slipstream on that, ride on that slipstream of newness that you and others have created, by which to affirm, believe, and create the ABCs using science of mind principles. There's so much more, and probably next week I'm going to read our principles, our core beliefs, but I want to do that, and maybe I will have that PowerPoint so I can put up each one and then define it for you. Because I'm affirming that, believing that I can do that, and I will create that for us as we go along this year. So, because I want to reach every one of your senses. I think some of you know that some people learn by hearing things, some people learn from reading and seeing, some are tactile, whatever, or a combination thereof. I want this year to use all the tools available to me and thee by which to change our thinking, change our life, so that by the time we get to December next year, wholeness is so intrinsic, we don't even have to identify it. It's already ours. And it is already ours. And so my goal in the next 51 and some odd weeks, I guess, or whatever, when I'm here, is to remove any of the boundaries, the layers, the filters, or the misbeliefs that wholeness doesn't exist. And that you utilize each one of us, all of us, and everything that we offer at this center, and that we are drawing to this center, by which to be that for yourself, that wholeness from passion and from enthusiasm that Pope Francis talks about, Sam Keen talks about, Ernest talks about, and you talk about in your head when you listen to one of those tracks, to that still small voice within that knows because it knew, because it is. Did that make sense? I hope. If not, it will. So I'm just going to, the rest of this is, we got a couple more weeks, we can do more of that. Let us do what we do, that voodoo that you know so well, and let us do a spiritual mind treatment together. So please just close your eyes and put away things. And how we will do it today, the 5 steps, I will do it in the first person so that you can hear it, so that you can perhaps say it along or let it kind of saturate your being. I recognize that there is only one life, capital L, and that life is God's life, And God's life is my life now. I recognize that infinite intelligence and wisdom of the ages, that which preceded me, that which I am, and that which I will be, is who I am now, in this moment. I recognize that wisdom, love, power, intelligence. And now I unify with that, meaning that I align myself with that. I know that I am one with the stars and the trees. I am one with the beautiful chords of music, of the beauty of color and the fragrance. I know that I am one with all of these things and more. I am one with the wisdom in each one of those books, all the way back. I am one in the wisdom of the books that have yet to be written, the songs that have yet to be sung. I unify myself with the totality, the wholeness, and the allness of life. And since I recognize and I know that I am one with that, from that place of power and creation, I may now realize those things in my world that I wish to draw, attract, create. I realize for myself that this is a year of wholeness. Body, mind, spirit, thought, deed, and action. Wholeness. I realize that I have within me everything that I could ever need or want. And I realize also that I have the power to change those things that are contrary to that. So that if any person, place, thing, or pattern stands in the way of my wholeness, my goodness, outpicturing, I bless it, I release it, I give thanks for who or whatever it was, for being a part of my life. I let it go so that I may realize more of God, more of life, more of love. And as I affirm and know this for myself, then I have the power to be able, the empowerment to speak that truth for my loved ones, for the planet, for those people who come to me, so that I may be that surprise teacher that I spoke of in the contemplation, so that I am the one that radiates that wholeness for others. And therefore they respond in kind, and we come together as one. And I give thanks that this is true. Because I affirm, I believe, I create, I trust, I know, and I just stand in absolute gratitude for that. Simple, humble gratitude. And so now I take all of that, everything that we've heard this morning, everything that got stirred this morning, and I take all of it now and I just release it back to spirit. With that breath, I let it go, I exhale, I let it be, and I ask that you join me as we say together, and so it is, and so I am, and so we are. Amen.